Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and these are Charter Moms Chats. And we've been going live to help families and students learn important information so they can get a great education in spite of all the change and disruption that's happening these days. And we've been talking about back to school, and I'm really excited today. We get to hear a student perspective about back to school and about what it means to choose a school that's maybe not the one that you're zoned for your neighborhood. And so today on the blog, we featured a guest post from Kailey Cazares, who is a junior at Cast Med High School. So let me put that up on screen. So Cast Med is part of the Cast Schools Network, and they are choice schools that focus on important careers that are in demand in San Antonio. And yeah, we're going to hear from Kailey, but I encourage everybody to click on the link in the description of the video, and it'll take you to her post on the blog. But thank you, Kailey, for joining me on Charter Moms Chat, so we can hear your story firsthand.
Okay, so yeah, I'm a junior at CastMed now. It's been 3 years since the school opened, and I'm part of the first class. Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what to say about my story per se, but
That's okay. That's okay. We just get to have a conversation, and the post is really wonderful. So but it's just you being you. I think what's important to me is that it's not just like parents making decisions for their kids, but I also think that for like middle school and high school, that it's important to like talk to your kids about what they're interested in, and bring them with you to events. So I think one of the things you mentioned in the post was that you were at an event for Girls Inc., and that was how you first encountered Cast Med. So can you tell us more about how that happened?
yeah. So when I was in 8th grade, Grossing came to our school, so I decided to apply, and I applied to a 5-year program. And then I remember one of the meetings. It was only just two of the staff there because it was a brand new school. They had just hired the principal and the secretary, and they came to talk to us about it. And the way they presented it was that it's just a school that's based on medical learning to help those high school students who aren't really sure of their pathway, and they just don't want to go to a normal high school to just be part of the CAST network. And before that, I had never heard anything about CAST. I didn't know anything about the network. And then I asked my mom, I was like, can I please join? It's medical. And I came in wanting to be a psychologist, but that has changed. Yeah, so I just applied to the school and I got accepted. So
Yeah. I think one of the things you mentioned in your post is that like you're kind of weighing the pros and cons. So like if you went to the high school that you were zoned for, I guess the good news is that it would be kind of the same group of kids that you'd been with since like third grade. But on the other hand, it's a really big campus, and so you might not feel like as unique or like you were getting as much like special attention, I guess. I don't know. So how would you describe kind of like some of the differences between CastMed versus like a big traditional like neighborhood high school?
well, my original high school was supposed to be East Central in the East Central district, and it's really different. There's over about 3,000 kids there, and over here there's over only 200. And
Wow.
I'm really glad I came here because they focus more one on one. They give us a lot of the help that we need. There's a lot of clubs. You can make your own clubs, and I know at other high schools they already have enough. They don't really tune to your interest that way. um, they just focus more on you yourself and not really just, oh, you're a group of students, you hang out with these people, you hang out with these people, so we're going to classify you as that kind of group. It's more your individual, we notice you for your uniqueness and we're going to accept that. So I think here they really make it to where you could do what you want, because I know I came in wanting to do band in high school, and they didn't have band here, but they have mariachi. And last year it was only went up to mariachi 3 because we started taking our dual credit. And I was really upset about that because I like playing music and doing all that stuff. So I asked the counselor if we could have a mariachi 3 because a lot of students actually liked it, and they ended up making a mariachi 3 for us. But I know at another high school, if we had asked personally, they would have been like, oh no, it's fine. I think you could find other classes. So I mean, that's the really good pro for this school. It's small. The teachers give you one on one. I think there's about 12 teachers here. there's I think the most people that I have in a class is like I don't know, 13, and my smallest class is about 5, 6. So I mean, it's a really good. The teachers are really nice too. So
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like, I mean, it's a small enough group that everybody kind of knows everybody. All the teachers can know all the students. And the fact that they're responsive, that they listen to, the students saying like, hey, we really, we really love this elective. Like, can we keep doing it more years? And how great to have like a balance between, like you're learning about, medical science, but you're also getting to do the arts and have a mariachi program. Yeah. That's well, I remember there were, let's see, some of the other things you mentioned in the post was that well, I get okay, well, I'm curious, you mentioned that psychology was what you were initially interested in, but like, what are some of the things that you've experienced, like, now that you've like you've had, 2 years of experience at CASMed, like, were there classes you had that kind of shifted your interest or made you aware of things you hadn't been aware of before?
well, in freshman year, every Friday we had a guest speaker to come talk to us. He was usually a doctor or someone who has experienced anything medical. And then they had come, and I wanted to be an anesthesiologist after hearing one of the coordinators come. And I just did more research on the medical field. I got into true crime, so now I want to be a forensic toxicologist. And they actually have special programs here for us. I know there's a few students in a pharmaceutical class already. So by the time that they end their junior year, they can get their certificate. So they can at least do a little bit of work senior year so they can get money for college and that thing. They really help us with a lot of scholarships here. And with scholarship goes more into a career. They have health informatics, medical microbiology, and then the pharmaceutical class. So there's three different pathways you choose when you're a junior, and it helps you go more into depth of the career that you want to do. And I think that's really beneficial for us because if we don't want to be, say, a psychologist anymore, after taking that course, we can decide, oh, well, I want to be a researcher. So I can go to a different class, and it just helps you realize what you want to do in that sense. So,
Yeah, I think that's really that's one of the things, like, as I've, like, I haven't visited CastMed yet, but I have visited CastTech, and I got to learn about their pathways, and, um, something I think is really impressive about the Cast Schools Network is, not only does, like, each campus kind of specialize, right? Like, so, like, Tech has its pathways and CastMed has their pathways, but, once you choose a Cast Schools campus, then, like you said, you're able to try different courses and then realize like which of those pathways is most meaningful to you, and then that leads to things like certifications, which gives you work experience. Like you're not just babysitting or working in a restaurant, but like you're doing something that's in the field that you want to work in, and that's helping build your knowledge and your experience. And then you mentioned scholarships, and so it's preparing you for further education that's in the field that you care about, that you're passionate about. And I think that's really, it benefits the students and it benefits the industries, because there's a really great need for people working in healthcare in San Antonio.
yeah, I that's something that they really wanted to showcase about the school is that not a lot of people on this side of town um, even care about the medical field. I feel like they all have their own little dreams. I mean, I'm not saying that they can't do that, but I feel like something more practical that they fine tune to you. Because I know at my original high school, they don't have any medical programs of that sort. It's all, oh, we have a cooking department, we have agriculture, but they don't really have medicine itself. And this school focuses all on medicine, and it's one of the best things about this school that they you tell them that you want to do something, and they'll try to make it happen for you no matter what.
Yeah, oh yeah. So I'm gonna just mention CastMed, for folks who aren't familiar with it, it's located at Brooks, which is on the southeast side of San Antonio, and it used to be an Air Force base years ago, and then it got BRAC, it got decommissioned, not an Air Force base. It's being redeveloped with a lot of like technology businesses, but it creates a great opportunity for just for schools to come in and use that space, but also like to be in a part of town that is typically underserved, right? There aren't as many big hospitals, there aren't as many industries, and it's important that all students have high expectations, no matter what part of San Antonio they're coming from, right? Whether you're coming from East Central or I'm just like all kids in San Antonio should have high expectations their future and should have information about, what those in-demand careers are so they can earn the highest wages and, have feel like that their work is really meaningful and that they're really giving back. And um, so that's what you said about CASMED is serving an area where that hasn't been a tradition. And I think there is a like University Incarnate Word has a school of osteopathy. I think that's
Yes.
in the area. Okay, I mean, you probably know more about that than I do. Is that what's on your shirt, Incarnate Word?
Yeah, incarnate word.
Yeah, but there actually is a medical school, for like college graduates, right? Like
Mhm.
right in the area. Um, yeah, that let's see. So I want to ask you more about the let's see. Well, so CASMED is one thing I heard about it is that it's like not just the medical focus, but that there's also it's preparing students to work in healthcare and serve bilingual um, patients as well, right? That like like language can be a barrier if there's patients who need service in Spanish, and there may not be enough Spanish-speaking medical professionals entering the field. So is that something that you've experienced on campus, like being able to like study in Spanish as well?
Yes, so we have dual language programs. So I know um, a majority of high schools only require 2 language credits, but here they prefer that you do all 4. So you have a basic understanding in Spanish. I'm part of the dual language program, so I take pre-calculus in Spanish, and it's really beneficial for me because I'm I understand Spanish more than I speak it, but now I'm kind of comfortable talking more in it in class when with the teacher. And I know they have a lot of the science and math classes in Spanish. They have chemistry, anatomy and physiology, I believe, geometry, algebra 1, algebra 2, and pre-cal. So I think that's really interesting because a lot of kids don't really try to learn 2 languages, or they just speak whatever they speak at home and they don't try to apply it to their work. So if they apply it, it's they have a higher chance of being hired compared to someone else who only speaks 1 language. So I think it's really interesting, especially in San Antonio, because a majority of the people that we serve are Hispanic. So
Yeah, no, it's great because typically in high school, if students are taking a foreign language, like you said, they might only take 2 credits, and they only use the language in that language class. But at a dual language school, you're learning science, you're learning math, but you're learning it in Spanish, and so it's challenging you to use Spanish as a technical language and not just sort of for expressive purposes, but it's getting you in the habit of like functioning at a high level in more than one language, and that's like it's got to be great for your brain to challenge you that way. So, and one of the fun things about live streaming is that we get comments. So the team at CastNet is cheering you on, Kaylee.
thank you.
So, well, I wanted to ask you about, I guess, are there things about sort of life on campus, or like you mentioned like the mariachi program, and like that it's kind of like a like smaller classes. It's a smaller school. Everybody knows everybody. But are there things about your classes that you like?
Uh, well, it's really a lot. They focus a lot on group work because in the medical profession, they really like to emphasize that you have to work in a group. I mean, you can work alone, but it's better to have communication. So they're building our communication skills by always having group work. Um, they do have a lot of solo projects. Like there's a PBL, project based learning. It's there's different themes that you can go on. I believe I know that I chose racism last year in the healthcare field. So I worked with a team of people who were also interested in that, and we came up with this podcast talking about that. So I think the classes really prepare you for that kind of research. I know English prepped us. Our project lead the way really prepped us for that, and it's just a overall project that you can share with the other students, so they can learn more about that, and you learn more about what they research. And I think it's just really interesting because I learned so much last year from other students than I have just in life by looking at the news or anything of that sort. So
Um, Well, I wanted to ask you about kind of your your process about changing schools, and I know we talked about that at the very beginning, but like if you could also kind of offer advice for if there's anyone listening to this who's like a middle schooler or a high schooler and maybe they're thinking about changing schools, and then and kind of like how you and your mom kind of figured this out together, and um just I like there's a really good quote you have in your post where you talk about like a like I guess like a mentor was advising you saying like, okay, if you've got two different choices, like maybe you should try the new thing because you have the old thing to fall back on. I'm not explaining it right. I don't know. Can you kind of like explain that advice? Like if you're trying to weigh your options, you're trying to make a decision, like how to look at that.
Well, I would say if you're choosing, it's so something that this was actually a mentor at Girls Inc. who, when I was talking to her about wanting to go to this school, I wasn't sure because I wanted to stay with my friends at my original high school, and I was worried about meeting new people and new classes, new teachers. It just was really unsettling for me. So she said, follow your heart because you're the logic that you're trying to use is that you want something familiar. But if you choose your heart, it's easier for it to want new things. And it's like choosing something on a menu. You always want to get the same old item, but then you realize that if you choose something else, you actually might like it. And she's like, I heard that because we only accept up from freshman and sophomore. And she's like, so by the time, say you don't like your freshman year, you can just drop out and go to your original school. But if you like it, you can stay there until you're a senior and then graduate from that school. You're going to be the first class. There's all these pros for this school. That so I just went with my heart because I knew that if I didn't like it, I could just ask my parents to send me to a new school instead of just having to stick through it. And I didn't want to be going to my original high school and then decide, oh, I want to go to Cast Med, and then I'm sure they were already gonna have a little tight knit community. So I didn't really want to just come in halfway through the year and still have that sense, the overwhelming sense that I don't belong. So that's why I chose it first because it's just I'm not sure how to explain it, but it was just something that I knew would work for me, and I was right. So I think if you're a middle schooler and you're trying to choose which high school you want to go to, just look at what benefits you and what they have at some anything that interests you. Because if you go to a school where they only have one thing that you like compared to a school that has I don't, five things that you like, you're gonna want to choose that school that has five things, even if you're not used to it. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really good advice, and I hope that I think it's better coming from you than someone like me, because I've had different life experiences, and I've have failed and had to pick myself up again. But when you're in the middle of it, it's really stressful, and when you're trying to make a hard decision and you don't know which way is the right answer, it's hard. And yeah, and I think young people need to hear from other young people about what it's like to live it and go through it. And what you said made a lot of sense about um, if you choose a school like Cass Med, there's multiple pathways there too. So like it's not like you're committed to the psychology idea because you can keep studying things like forensics and who knows, maybe you'll have your own true crime podcast someday, right?
Um,
Yeah. And how cool to be able to do projects where you get to like create stuff and showcase it for people. And um yeah. Are there so you mentioned mariachi, are there other like extracurricular activities that at CastMed that you like, or other
um,
kind of community service projects you've been able to do? I know it's hard with the pandemic. That's disrupted things.
Well, I'm part of student council. Right now we have a student council election, so that's kind of hard because since everyone already knows each other, we're all friends with each other. So it's kind of who do I pick? I don't know. I'm friends with them, but I'm also friends with this person. So there's student council. I'm part of our volunteer club. I know with the Cast Network, I've done a lot of internships. There's this one this summer called Discover You Studio. It's where we welcome the freshmen coming to the Cast Network. So we just help them. We It's kind of a time for them to make friends almost while trying to showcase who they are and express themselves. I'm sure you can find that on the YouTube for Cast Network. Um, so I did that freshman year, and then I did it last summer. I do a lot of volunteer projects. I try to do as much as I can. I joined. I'm a teen ambassador for Project Worth that helps teens have kind of a lifeline if they need to talk about anything that's going on in their lives, we can help them out. We just go volunteer. We do a lot of things with the food bank too. So I know every single thing that I'm in part of right now has, besides Girls Inc. and Girl Scouts, has been due to the cast networks. They always introduce me to these new ideas, these new projects, and I'm really grateful for that because I wouldn't just want to be at home doing nothing. I like being out there trying to help people more. So yeah, Cast Networks has really helped me with that. They do a lot. Sorry, they do this for a lot of other students. I know that I went to a school fair. I did a volunteer. That's where I met the SA Charter Moms, and when they told me about this, I was like, oh yes, that sounds really cool. So here I am.
Well, I'm really grateful. I feel like your attitude of wanting to try new things is going to really pay off in the long run because you'll get to experience a lot of things, and then that way, it's like you said, like instead of just ordering the same thing at the restaurant, like you'll find new things that you like, and it leads to like a fuller life and just more options.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so in the post you talk about how like okay, so I guess like so it was during your freshman year. um like it started out normal and then the pandemic started, right? Like partway through your freshman year, and then you had to do distance learning, and then like you didn't really get to have like a a regular like first day back at school for your sophomore year. Like so yeah, I imagine what it's like. I mean, I'm an adult, so I remember like normal life like before the pandemic, but like you're not getting to have like a normal high school experience.
Yeah. When I was in eighth grade, I knew some of the freshmen. They're like, yeah, first year of high school is so important. It's so fun. You're gonna have all these new experiences that are gonna kind of set you up for the rest of high school. And we had just come back from HEB Foundation Camp, where we went out for I believe 2 or 3 days and learned how to kayak, and we learned about first aid and all that stuff. And then we came back, and we were supposed to go to UT Austin as a little tour for the school. And then they said that we had a quarantine and the pandemic hit. So it was something that we just had to stay home. And I was like, oh man, really? I didn't like distant learning. I'm more of a in-person person because on Zoom, I'm really awkward. I don't like asking questions. I feel like the teacher could spend their time doing something better, like teaching, than having to stop. But I know that in person when they're teaching everyone, I don't mind asking any questions. So it was really hard for me at the beginning of sophomore year because I'm going to be honest, I didn't really care because I was like, well, it's Zoom, it's distant learning. I mean, it's just not the same for me. So I'm gonna be honest, I kind of slacked off. um I was just like, I don't care because I mean, new teachers, it's harder to get to know new teachers because they had to hire more teachers, and then the stuff we were learning was more advanced than it was last year. And it was a continuation of last year when we were in the pandemic, and I didn't really ask questions, so I wasn't understanding. And then last year we finally had our first last day of school on campus, and I was really excited about that because I was like, wow, we finally finished a sophomore year, but we basically had a whole year online. So junior year for me is just, it doesn't even feel like I'm a junior. I still feel like I'm a freshman because I'm finally on campus with everyone else, and there's like 200 people here, and I was like, it still doesn't feel like, it feels like one whole class instead of just freshman, sophomore, and junior. So it's really confusing. But I mean, compared to other students when they say, "Oh yeah, freshman year, best time of my life," sophomore year was so amazing. I'm just like, yeah, that's cool. I mean, yeah, I mean, I had to do distance
Yeah.
learning, so
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not the same. I
yeah,
miss I mean, personally I'm an introvert and I need my downtime, but I also love new experiences, and I get energy from meeting new people and networking and stuff. And I really miss being able to just network, and I miss like my co-working space where I got to like bump into people and ask how their day was, and
yeah,
just catch up on things. I miss that. And I know how it feels like I think if I for most of my virtual meetings are small groups, but I think in a big group, like, yeah, like it's hard for me to like, I don't feel like my question is worth interrupting for that. And,
hmm,
and and so then my question doesn't get answered, and then I'm not as engaged, and I don't pay as much attention. And then when the more that happens, like the more behind I get. And I think that's just human nature. And so I'm really glad that you are able to be on campus now. And I'm glad that SAIC and is is doing so much to keep students safe as far as like masking and testing and stuff. And I just want everyone to know that Kailey had her mask on when we joined the StreamYard, but she took it off because there's no one else in the room. So, but um, Kailey is following the mask rules. I'm just a bad influence.
Yeah, I had
Yeah,
my
I'm
mask
glad.
on
I'm
before
glad
I
that.
came.
Yeah, yeah. So after StreamYard, she will put the mask back on, and she will be in compliance while she's on campus. Yeah, yeah. I'm glad. So it's like it's your junior year, but it's almost like it's your freshman year because this is when you get to like establish the traditions and get to know your peers and
Yeah.
figure out what CASNet is all about.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's not really a good experience, but I feel like I'm starting over again and I get to meet new people. Because I know a lot of people left freshman year. We had about 100 students and then they just left because they didn't want to do Zoom. I remember sophomore year, I was complaining to one of my teachers on how much I wanted to be in the building. And then a couple of days later, my mom got a call asking if I could go into the building. So I said, yes, of course.
Oh,
So I came halfway through the year, sophomore year, and I came back. And it was one of the best experiences because I got to know my teachers. I got to know the rest of the new students that had come for sophomore year. Got to know the freshmen. I got to ask questions. I wasn't afraid to ask questions anymore. So it kind of helped me get out of my shell, but I built the show because of the pandemic. So
yeah, yeah. I know. Yeah, my mom friends and I we talk about like how is this impacting kids and like because I mean y'all's experience in high school is going to be so different than what my experience was or what even kids who were in high school 10 years ago it was. And I, but I'm encouraged by hearing what you say. Like you're analytical about it and you have perspective about it. And I think you're taking the right lessons away from it and it's giving you self knowledge. But I'm sorry that you've had to you know experienced high school so differently than how other people had and how what it should be like. So, but I'm glad you're back on campus. I'm glad you get to know your teachers and get to know the other new students and um, you know, feel
yeah.
like you belong at CASMed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we've touched on just about everything in the guest post, which I thank you so much for writing that. I'm gonna put the let's see, link on the screen. Okay, so shromans.com, that's where y'all can read Kailey's guest post. It's also, there's a link in the description of the video. Oh, and this is where I get to hype for, actually, you get to hype for CASMed. Okay, so Kailey is a junior at CASMed High School, and it serves, let's see, so students in 9th or 10th grade could apply, right? And then there's going to be another open enrollment in the winter, but the school year is just kicking off. So, and if folks want to get information, it's sasd.net CASMed. Um, so yeah, do you want to encourage any words of advice for people looking into CASMed?
um, I'm really bad at these things. I will say just to pick cast med because if you're a parent, it's going to be the best thing for your child because I know if you have anything less than an 80, they ask for your child to stay in tutoring. They have a tutoring bus, so you don't have to come pick your kid up. They can drop them off at the nearest high school, and they can go from there. This school wants your kids to succeed because that's how much they care. Um, it's the teachers care so much, the staff cares. Um, I mean, it's just there's like it's a family here basically. Everyone cares about your well being. I know when I had first come back, I wasn't doing so well in my math class. I believe it was. So one of my friends asked if they could help. They could like tutor me, so they can help me out because that's how much we all care about each other here. I feel like this is the best place for your child. It's all education, but we do have a lot of clubs. We have a lot of opportunities to participate in other things. I know freshman year we had a dance with Cast Tech. So I mean, it's not even Cast Med as a family, it's just a whole Cast network. I mean, I know so many students from Cast Tech now, Cast STEM. I kind of forgot about my old friends. I mean, it's Cast Med is where my life is right now, and I really don't regret any choice that I have about it. I'm glad that I made this choice because it's best for me, it's good for my family because when I have a job, I'm going to be able to support them in ways that they supported me when I was younger. So it's kind of like I could pay back my family for everything that I've done. So that's the best thing
Oh,
about ClassMat, that they help you do whatever you can.
yeah, that's an amazing testimony about like how much they care about you know keeping every student on track, and whether it's tutoring or friends helping or teachers stepping in. That yeah, and that like that's with all the disruption that's been going on. I think getting that kind of support where it's like a family and they're going to keep everybody engaged, that's super important. Um, let's see. Oh, hey, cool. The family, they they say they can't wait till their kids can join CASMed. So yeah, yeah, that's the key thing though, is like it's only high school. So like middle schoolers have to wait until 8th grade till they can apply, right? Okay. Well, Katie, it's been great having a conversation with you. I feel like this adds like so much more on top of what you wrote in the guest post, and very brave of you to come and do a live interview on on Charter Buzz Chat. So everybody, let's a round of applause for Kailey Cazares. So brave, Castman Jr. Coming on Charter Buzz Chats for student stories. Thank you, Kailey.
Thank you. Do I just leave?
Okay, bye
Okay.
bye. I'll sign off.